The 2023 Mercedes-AMG EQE isn't the first all-electric car from AMG. That honor goes to the wild gullwing SLS AMG Electric Drive coupe unveiled at the 2012 Paris show. Now a largely forgotten curio, the SLS AMG Electric Drive was at the time the most powerful AMG production car ever built, boasting 740 horsepower and 738 pounds-to-foot of torque, courtesy of 4 e-motors powered by a 60 kWh lithium-ion battery. Only 9 were said to have been produced. The AMG EQE also follows in the wheel tracks of the larger, plusher AMG EQS sedan we drove late in 2021. But it's perhaps the most important AMG electric car so far, not the least of which because it will be the most affordable AMG electric car so far. Though US pricing has yet to be finalized, back-of-the-envelope calculations suggest the AMG EQE should retail for about the same money as a Tesla Model S dual motor. Though 2 versions of the AMG EQE are offered in Europe, the 470 horsepower EQE 43 4MATIC and the 617 horsepower EQE 53 4MATIC plus the US will only get the latter, and it will simply be badged Mercedes-AMG EQE. And in case you're wondering, there isn't an X63 waiting in the wings. Well, not yet anyway. AMG engineers confirm the AMG EQE we're getting is the most powerful variant they will build on the Mercedes-Benz EVA 2 electric vehicle platform that underpins the regular EQE and EQS sedans. Truly tarmac-melting AMG electric cars will be built on a new, dedicated performance EV platform currently under development in Affalterbach. That's not to say the AMG EQE is slow. Far from it. But first, the tech highlights? The dual-motor AMG EQE has a 221 horsepower e-motor driving the front wheels and a 396 horsepower e-motor powering the rears, the pair delivering a total system output of 617 horsepower and 701 pounds-to-foot of torque. That's almost twice the power, and nearly twice the torque, of the entry-level, rear-drive EQE 350 Plus. And in cars fitted with the optional AMG Dynamic Plus package, the boost mode function unleashes 677 horsepower and 738 pounds-to-foot. The AMG-specific permanently excited synchronous e-motors feature improved cooling to allow repeated acceleration without performance degradation, and unique windings with thicker wires that carry higher currents with greater stability, enabling higher motor RPM and increased power. The rear e-motor is a 6-phase design rather than the normal 3-phase, to further increase its power output. The 5 drive modes, Slippery, Comfort, Sport, Sport Plus, and Individual, not only change the AMG EQE's chassis settings, but also significantly vary the powertrain output. Slippery mode restricts the powertrain to 308 horsepower, Comfort to 493 horsepower, and Sport to 555 horsepower. Only in Sport Plus are you able to access the full 617 horsepower or more. The e-motors are fed by a 90.6 kWh battery pack that AMG says will deliver from 275 miles to 321 miles of range on the WLTP test cycle. That suggests a range of somewhere between 210 miles and 240 miles on the tougher EPA test. Chassis upgrades include AMG-specific wheel carriers, suspension links and stiffer stabilizer bars. The bushes between the body shell and rear axle subframe are 50% stiffer than those of the regular EQE, and the AMG Ride Control Plus air suspension has unique mapping for the spring and shock rates. The system will instantly lower the ride height by 0.6 of an inch in Sport and Sport Plus modes and keep it there, in Comfort mode that only happens when you hit 78 miles per hour. Drop down to 50 miles per hour, and the car will raise itself back to its standard ride height. Rear wheel steering is standard, the wheels turning up to 3.6 degrees in the opposite direction to the fronts at speeds up to 37 miles per hour to improve low-speed maneuverability and agility, and in the same direction as the fronts at higher speeds to increase stability. Though the AMG EQE will recoup up to 260 kilowatts with the regen system set in its most aggressive mode, AMG's high-performance steel brake setup is standard, with 16.3-inch rotors and 6-piston calipers on the front axle, and 14.9-inch units with single-piston calipers at the rear. Carbon ceramic brakes are available as an option, but only with the optional 21-inch wheels. Standard wheels are 20-inch. Despite their aggressive styling, all the wheels have been carefully designed to reduce aerodynamic drag. AMG engineers claim the EQE is only marginally less slippery than the regular model, despite its wider tires and more aggressively styled front and rear fascias. That contributes to one of the car's standout characteristics, its quietude, especially at freeway cruising speeds. But for a brand that's long been celebrated for powertrains that when you mash the gas pedal assault your ears like you're in the mosh pit at an AC/DC concert, that's potentially an existential problem. AMG's solution has been to create special electronic soundscapes that play through the audio speakers when you select either Sport or Sport Plus drive modes. It may be a generational thing. Gamers who've spent years listening to digital effects might think they're cool, but to our ears in sport mode at full acceleration it sounded like an Airbus A380 on takeoff, while the Sport Plus mode soundscape sounded as if Captain Kirk had just ordered the Enterprise to warp speed. Fortunately, you can switch the fancy effects off, either by accessing the menu on the center touchscreen or using the shortcut on the steering wheel. Embrace the relative silence, and you'll start noticing subtle aural cues that are usually drowned by the raucous mayhem of combustion and mechanics, things like changes in tire noise as you approach the limits of adhesion through corners or under brakes, for example. Our test car was fitted with the optional Dynamic Plus package, which meant it had the full strength, high caffeine 677 horsepower, 738 pound-to-foot powertrain. Worth the extra money. Let's just say the way it delivers is right on brand. The acceleration in Sport Plus mode is neck-snapping, more instantly ferocious, more gut-punchingly violent, than in any internal combustion engine AMG car. Mat the accelerator and the AMG EQE launches like a fighter jet catapulted off an aircraft carrier. The traction is astonishing, and while the AMG EQE is limited to a mere, by AMG standards, 137 miles per hour, 149 miles per hour in Dynamic Plus equipped cars, it gets there riding an endless torrent of weapons-grade thrust. Like Porsche's Taycan, it has top-end response few other EVs can match. AMG claims a 0 to 60 miles per hour acceleration time of 3.2 seconds for Dynamic Plus equipped cars, and 3.4 seconds for standard AMG EQEs. That's impressive, especially for a car that's claimed to weigh about 5,500 pounds. For context, Tesla claims its 670 horsepower Model S dual motor, which it says weighs about 1,000 pounds less than the Mercedes, is only 0.1 to 0.3 seconds quicker to 60 miles per hour. Even more impressive, perhaps, is the chassis. While the regular EQE can feel a little floaty and detached when pushed, the AMG EQE remains resolutely planted, even when hammered over bumpy, tight, and twisting roads. The body control is excellent, and even in Sport Plus mode there's a syrupy coating to the ride you rarely feel in an AMG car. Our test car was on the optional 21-inch wheels, with 265/35 Michelin Pilot Sport EV tires up front and 295/30 items at the rear, but in comfort mode at slow speeds, the AMG EQE still rode more like a modern luxury sport sedan on low-profile tires than a hair-on-fire muscle car, the impacts from potholes and random road acne well suppressed. It doesn't exactly shrink around you, the AMG EQE, though. It's still a big, very heavy sedan, and the high cowl and cab forward stance means you can't see its front corners from the driver's seat, which makes it difficult to place on tight, narrow roads. But once you get a sense of its physicality, you can push it as hard and fast along any canyon road as any AMG sedan, exploiting the confidence of the chassis to make the most of its astounding instant-on power and torque. There's not much nuance to the weighty steering, though the front axle responds as soon as you pull the wheel off center, and the rear steer system helps snap the Mercedes into the tighter, slower corners. The asymmetric powertrain means that there's a bias to the rear axle when you go to power. Under full acceleration, 64% of the torque goes to the rear wheels and 36% to the front, and you can feel the front wheels helping pull the car out of a corner as the rears punch it hard past the apex.